Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the new 2022 Toyota Tacoma. Now we're mainly going to focus on the TRD Pro package, and then we'll get a little bit into the Trail package because those are the ones that are actually going to have some changes for 2022. But with all that being said, let's get straight into the video. Now let's actually get into the changes for the 2022 model year Tacoma. So first off, they are allowing you to have last year's TRD Pro color Lunar Rock on other packages. Well, at least the Trail Edition. I'm not sure if they'll let you have it on other packages, but they'll at least let you have it on the Trail Edition. Toyota typically does that, right? They'll have a special color for the TRD Pros, and then they'll let you have it on any truck the next model year. So that's pretty normal. Now, the new color for the TRD Pro Tacoma is known as Electric Lime. It is bright, it's crazy. You guys know I'm all about those types of colors. It is literally looks like something that I would wrap my vehicle in. I think it's a really cool looking color, and I imagine, again, just like what they've done in the past, this color will probably be available on other packages for the 2023 model year. We'll see what happens, but I mean, again, that's typically what Toyota does. Aside from the color changes, the TRD Pro gets a 1.5 inch lift in the front and then a 0.5 inch lift in the rear compared to the 2021 model year. That's quite a bit. You guys think with the Chevy Trail Boss, that is a 2-inch lift compared to a regular Chevy 1500, and it's quite a bit taller than a regular Chevy 1500. Like, there's a substantial stance difference, and so this is going to look quite a bit taller compared to the last year's TRD Pro, which I'm all about that. Now, the next thing that changes is obviously going to be some of the capability because of that lift. So we get 1.4 inches, or sorry, 1.4 degrees of added approach angle, and then we get 2.7 degrees of breakover, and then we get 0.8 degrees of departure angle that have been added to the TRD Pro. So overall, it's going to be a little bit more capable. And then the Trail Edition, that's the other truck that gets a little bit of changes for the 2022 model year. So it gets a 1.1 inch lift in the front end, so not quite as much as the TRD Pro, but it still gets a little bit more compared to the last year's Trail Edition. And then it gets a 0.5 inch in the back, so exactly the same as what the TRD Pro gets in the rear end. And then they're removing the front air dam for the Trail Edition, so that'll increase the approach angle by 2 degrees, which again, that's a huge plus because it's supposed to be an off-road package. Now, aside from that, it looks like everything else is pretty much going to be the same. So we still have 16-inch wheels with the TRD Pro, and they're still in the Territory all-terrain tires, so that looks like that's pretty much the same. And then it looks like with the Trail Edition, what's new, again, other than the color, is you get these 16-inch bronze wheels with all-terrain rubber. I don't think I ever reviewed a Trail Edition Tacoma, so let me know in the comment section below if the 2021 had the bronze wheels. I don't think that it did, but I can't remember if I reviewed one or not. I don't ever remember any of the Tacomas from the factory having bronze wheels, so that might be a little bit of a change. And then on top of that, it's getting the grille. The Trail Edition is going to have the grille. It's going to look a little bit more like the TRD Pro, so that's another cool look. And then it looks like they're changing kind of like the decals on the TRD Pro and then also on the interior. So like, it sounds like this is kind of like a cost-cutting thing. So before, like, you'd open up the door and it'd say TRD Pro. Apparently now it's going to say Tacoma. So they're probably just doing that so that, right, cost-cutting measures, who knows, right? And then engine, transmission, all that stuff is the same. So the 6-speed automatic and the 6-speed manual are still here. 3.5 liter V6, same power outputs. Guys, it's Toyota. That's just how things go. And then these are only available in 4x4, which, I mean, they're off-road packages. What else do you expect? So there's not going to be any change with that. And then in terms of the pricing, it's going to be a little bit more than last year is what is expected. So for the Trail Edition, kind of expect the pricing to be closer to like $36,000. And then for the TRD Pro, expect it to start closer to like $46,000, maybe $47,000. Maybe not that much, but probably about $46,000, I imagine. And so those are kind of the changes. Now let's actually get into what I think about all this. Now let's go over what this means for the mid-size truck segment and my overall thoughts, and then if you should buy the new Tacoma. So let's get into the Tacoma part of it first, because this is what the video is about. Should you buy the new Tacoma? The answer is yes and no. If you're going to be buying a package that is anything but a TRD Pro or a Trail Edition, I'd recommend going and trying to find a 2021 at this point, because they're not really making any changes for pretty much the whole lineup for 2022. And so you'll be able to get a 2021 that'll have the same exact stuff for a little bit less money than a 2022. And I think that the reason Toyota hasn't officially released pricing on the new Tacoma is because of the chip shortage. And so they're going to see how much they are going to have to charge for the truck depending on if they can get chips or not. And so I think that that's kind of what they're waiting for. But yeah, if it's not a trail and if it's not a TRD Pro, I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend waiting for the 2022. I'd try to get a 2021 if you still can. Now, aside from that, with the trail and the TRD Pro, this is going to be completely dependent upon what you're using the truck for. If you actually take this truck off-road, then the 2022 might make sense. On the Trail Edition side of things, first off, it's like $10,000 less than a TRD Pro, so it's a really cool package to actually buy if you're planning on doing a cool build on it, because, I mean, think about how many modifications you can add for $10,000. There's quite a bit you could add to the truck. And so the Trail Edition, right, is still going to be kind of like the off-road package that you go and modify because of the lower starting price. That being said, again, if you don't take it off-road, it's probably not going to make sense to get a 2022 trail if you have a 2021 trail. But if you don't have any Tacoma, right, then the 2022 is going to be worth waiting because you're going to get those small changes. It's going to have a little bit better resale value. It's going to look a little bit better. And so I think it's definitely worth it. Now, on the TRD Pro side of things, same exact philosophy. If you don't take it off-road, it's not worth it. But if you don't have a Tacoma, I think it's worth waiting for the 2022, especially if you want the crazy color, because it's going to look absolutely fantastic. And I guess that goes over the Trail Edition too. If you really like that lunar rock color, then it'll be worth waiting so you can get that color. But on the TRD Pro, yes, the added off-road capability will definitely be worth it. It'll have a little bit better resale because of that. And so if you don't have a Tacoma, then it's worth it. And then if you really do take the truck off-road, then it also is potentially worth it with that added capability. It's not a huge amount, right? But it's enough that it does make a little bit of a difference. Now, aside from that, how does this actually change the mid-size truck segment? And the answer is not very much, right? Toyota hasn't updated the Tacoma pretty much, I wouldn't say at all, but all the updates, right, you guys heard me say, are very minimal. We've had the same engine, same transmission, pretty much the same body for such a long time with the Tacoma now that it's an old truck at this point. And that's kind of a thing with the mid-size truck segment that I find very strange. So think about like the Ford Ranger. That's built off of a truck that was sold from basically, I think, 2011, roughly. And obviously it wasn't in the US market, it was all around the world, and then the US market got released in 2019. But the new Ford Ranger, right, is a truck that's over a decade old. And then same thing, GMC, Canyon, Chevy Colorado, those are old trucks. And then the Nissan Frontier, that's finally going to be new for 2022. The Jeep Gladiator's a little bit newer. Obviously that was 2020. But I mean, it's built off of the platform of the JL Wrangler, which is a 2018. So I mean, it's not brand new, but it's relatively new. But that's something that's interesting about the midsize truck segment. Like I said, is they just don't update things all that often, and so when they do, it really does shake up things quite a bit. Like I think the new Frontier is really going to change dynamics because it's going to have a new interior, new exterior. It's going to have all these new capabilities, everything, new platform, all that kind of stuff. And so it's really going to differentiate itself from its competitors. I think Toyota needs to do that because right now, the new Tacoma TRD Pro is cool, but it's like, it has the same shocks. Okay, it's a little bit higher off the ground, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, for the most part, it is pretty much the same. There's not huge differences with the truck. And so it's not really going to change too much for the mid-sized truck segment. That being said, I still think it's a cool truck. I just think that Toyota needs to fully redesign the Tacoma. We need to have a new engine, new transmission. We need to have a new body. Definitely need to have a new interior as well, just so that it feels modern. I mean, because right now the truck, it's kind of in that weird in-between place where it really feels like it's probably about a decade old at this point. Now that's going to sum things up for our video on the 2022 Tacoma. And as always, if you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And then if you feel like my videos are of value to you, I'm going to include my Patreon in the description down below. Go support the channel through there. And yeah, I'll see all of you in the next video.